My beloved friends, there is a place in you, a secret sanctuary, untouched by fear, unmoved by disaster, and absolutely immune to the chaos of the world. In that sacred space, you are not trying to be safe. You are safe. In that space, you are not struggling to survive. You are aligned with eternal power. You may have been told that security comes from the world. Jobs, money, titles, relationships. But I am here to remind you, with over 100 years of spiritual understanding echoing behind these words, you are not a beggar on the steps of heaven. You are an heir of divine authority. Today you are going to hear something that doesn't come from theory. It comes from divine law. You are going to receive not a sermon, but a shift, a spiritual download that activates every dormant cell in your being. This isn't just a psalm. This is a spiritual command center. And by the time we finish, fear will not recognize you. Psalm 46 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Now listen closely, because what you're about to receive is not information. It is transformation. And we begin with this eternal truth. God is your inner refuge, not an external escape. To understand the depth of this truth is to experience freedom from fear, anxiety, and the illusion of separation. Most people search for safety in the outer world, in material possessions, in people, in positions of influence or control. They build walls, accumulate wealth, surround themselves with insurance and security, yet still feel unprotected when life's storms arise. That's because true refuge cannot be found in things that change, decay, or disappear. Real security lies not in the shifting sand of the world, but in the eternal ground of spirit within you. God, the infinite intelligence, is not a distant deity hiding behind the clouds or locked in ancient texts. God is the ever-present refuge dwelling in the secret place of your soul. When turmoil strikes, when the world around you feels unstable, it is not the world you must fix. It is your awareness you must return to. You must remind yourself that your true safety lies within. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual fact. To declare that God is your refuge is to declare that your protection is not subject to the stock market, to the weather, to politics, or to the opinions of others. It means you have access to peace, to clarity, to divine order, regardless of what is happening around you. This inner refuge is a sanctuary of light and wisdom. It is not accessed through panic or pleading. It is accessed through recognition. The outer mind, conditioned by fear and appearances, wants to run. It wants to escape, hide, or fight back. But the soul whispers a different instruction. Be still. Not because stillness is passive, but because stillness is power. In that stillness, you remember, you reconnect, you reclaim your divine center, which has never left you. The world will always offer reasons to fear. But once you know that God is your inner refuge, fear begins to lose its grip. Why? Because the moment you identify with the divine presence within you, you realize that nothing can truly harm you. Not because you're lucky, not because you're untouched by challenge, but because you are aligned with a presence that is greater than the problem. This spiritual refuge is not a hiding place. It is a rising place. You do not go within to escape life. You go within to master life. The presence you find there does not remove you from responsibility. It equips you to face it with wisdom and strength. The more deeply you abide in this refuge, the less dependent you become on external circumstances for your peace. Your job may change, People may come and go. Circumstances may shift. But the presence of God within you remains immutable. This is your anchor. This is your hiding place. Your fortress, your high tower. Not far away, but here, now, in the sanctuary of your own heart. So when you say, God is my refuge, you are not asking for a miracle. You are awakening to one. You are recognizing that safety is not something to be chased, but something to be claimed. In the center of your being, where divine consciousness resides, you are already safe, already held, already whole. You may face loss, but the refuge within you cannot be lost. You may encounter uncertainty, but the light within you never flickers. This is not a metaphor. This is spiritual reality. To live from this awareness is to walk through fire and not be burned, to stand in floodwaters and not be drowned, because the outer world may shake, but the inner presence remains unshakable. You were never meant to find your safety in fleeting things. You were meant to remember who you are and where your true protection lies. That memory awakens the divine power already planted within you, like a seed, waiting to be activated by faith, by stillness, by affirmation of the eternal truth. God is your refuge. Not tomorrow, not when things get better. Now, divine strength is already within you. There is a power within you that is stronger than any difficulty, greater than any obstacle, deeper than any pain. This power does not need to be earned, summoned, or imported. It is already present. It is your divine inheritance. You may not feel it at times. You may feel tired, overwhelmed, or broken, but feelings do not erase truth. The truth remains. Divine strength is already within. Most people pray for strength as if it were somewhere else, like a package to be delivered or a gift to be granted. But strength is not something you wait for. It is something you awaken. It is not added to you. It is drawn forth from you. The same power that sustains galaxies, that turns night into day, that breathes life into every cell, that power resides in you. Your body may tire, your emotions may fluctuate, but your spiritual essence, your true self, is inexhaustible. It is directly linked to the source, and that source never runs out of power. To know this is to transform your relationship with challenge. Suddenly, you're not struggling alone. You're not dragging yourself toward victory. You're remembering that you already possess what you need to rise. There is a quiet strength in you that doesn't scream. It doesn't boast. It simply is. And when you turn inward and affirm its presence, it begins to move through you. It becomes your thoughts, your words, your actions. You are no longer reacting from weakness. You are responding from wholeness. People often ask, how do I stay strong when everything feels like it's falling apart? The answer is, by recognizing that you are not your feelings, your fears, or your failures. You are the channel through which divine strength flows. And that flow is never blocked unless you believe it is. You can stand in the middle of heartbreak, grief, or uncertainty and still be strong, not because you're forcing it, but because you are rooted in something eternal. Do not confuse noise with power. Divine strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it moves silently, invisibly, yet unshakably. It allows you to hold peace. In a storm, it allows you to forgive when you'd rather fight. It empowers you to continue when everything tells you to quit. This strength is not reserved for the spiritually elite. It is not something given to saints and withheld from ordinary people. It is available to all, because it is part of all. It is the God self within you, timeless and undefeated, and it is most often discovered not in the highs of triumph, but in the quiet decision to keep going, even when things feel dark. Every time you say, "I can't do this," but do it anyway, you've touched this. Every time you get back up, every time you choose faith over fear, every time you respond with love instead of bitterness, you've allowed divine power to rise in you. It is not your ego that gives you strength. It is not your willpower. It is the infinite expressing through your soul. You are not just supported by this strength. You are made of it. To say divine strength is within me is to cancel every thought of defeat. It is to reject the lie that you are fragile, that you are dependent on outer conditions to feel empowered. It is to claim your divine identity, and in doing so, allow that identity to lead you. You do not have to shout to be powerful. You do not have to fight to be victorious. All you must do is remember. Remember who walks with you. Remember what lives in you. Remember that your strength is not borrowed. It is built in. Divine strength is not an emergency supply. It is your natural And when you affirm this truth, not casually, but with conviction, it begins to shape your life from the inside out. You stop looking for rescuers. You stop fearing breakdowns. You know that even in your weakest moment, there is a force inside you that does not bend, a power that does not give up, that does not fail. Fear dissolves in the light of spiritual knowing. Fear is not an enemy to be fought. It is a shadow that disappears when truth is introduced. Fear, at its root, is the result of forgetting. When you forget who you are, when you forget the nature of the infinite presence within you, fear begins to rise. It feeds on imagined danger, on distorted perception, on the illusion that you are alone or vulnerable. But fear has no substance of its own. It cannot create. It only distorts. And the moment you bring it into the light of spiritual knowing, it loses its grip. Spiritual knowing is not the same as intellectual belief. Belief can be shaken. Belief can waver. Knowing is deeper. It is the experience of truth within your own consciousness. It is the felt awareness that you are more than flesh, more than thoughts, more than history. It is the realization that you are one with a power that cannot be threatened. When this knowing fills your mind, fear becomes irrelevant. You no longer ask, "What if it all goes wrong?" Instead, you understand, even if it appears to go wrong, I remain connected to divine order. Fear begins with the illusion that life is out of control. Knowing begins with the realization that nothing is outside the reach of infinite intelligence. In the moment you truly know this, even for a second, fear dissolves like morning mist in the sun. It does not mean danger disappears. It means your perception is no longer ruled by it. You become still, centered, clear. You begin to respond from a place of grounded power, not panicked reaction. The external world may still change, but your inner being becomes rooted in peace. You realize that peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of God awareness. Fear cannot live in the same space as truth. The two cannot coexist. When you are afraid, it is because you are believing in something that isn't aligned with divine reality. You are trusting more in appearances than in source. You are imagining a future without grace. But once you turn your inner gaze to the presence within, everything shifts. You remember, I am never alone. I am never without help. I am never without wisdom. In this remembrance, fear begins to crumble. Even the most deeply rooted fears, fear of death, fear of rejection, fear of failure, are softened in the presence of spiritual light, because in truth, there is no death, only transformation. There is no rejection, only redirection. There is no failure, only feedback on the journey of becoming. When you know this, fear loses its power to paralyze. It no longer determines your choices. It no longer writes your story. Fear shrinks when you stop feeding it with attention. And spiritual knowing is the great redirector of attention. It says, don't focus on the mountain. Focus on the power that created the mountain. Don't focus on the storm. Focus on the voice that calms the sea. Don't focus on the lack. Focus on the source from which all abundance flows. This shift in focus is not denial. It is higher perception. It is the elevation of awareness from the finite to the infinite. Fear whispers that you're not enough. Spiritual knowing declares that you are one with all sufficiency. Fear tells you to play small. Knowing invites you to stand tall in divine confidence. Fear makes you reactive. Knowing makes you creative. Fear binds the mind. Knowing frees the soul. It doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again, but when it arises, you'll know what to do. You'll pause, breathe, turn inward, and let the light of truth speak louder than the noise of worry. This is not just a spiritual practice, it is a spiritual posture. You walk through life aware of the presence that walks with you. You face the unknown knowing that you are never unprotected. You make decisions not from desperation, but from clarity. This is not just positive thinking. It is divine awareness. It is the realization that beneath every surface condition lies a spiritual cause, and behind every appearance stands the source. And the moment you anchor yourself in that source, fear begins to unravel. There is no force in the world stronger than the consciousness of oneness with God. In that awareness, nothing is missing. Nothing is broken. Nothing is unsafe. That awareness is your home, your strength, your clarity. And when you live from that space, fear becomes a signal not of danger but of misalignment. It becomes a reminder to return, not a reason to retreat. You don't conquer fear by force. You transcend it by vision. You don't drown it with activity. You dissolve it with presence. The more deeply you know who and what you are, the less permission fear has to rule your life. This is the gift of spiritual knowing. It restores your vision. It purifies your thoughts, and it lifts you into the light where shadows no longer hold power. The presence of God is your permanent security. There is a presence that has always been with you. It was with you before you were born. It will be with you when your body is gone. It is not something you earn. It is not something that visits you on good days and leaves you on bad ones. It is your constant companion, your silent guide, your eternal anchor. This presence, unseen but unfailing, is the one thing in your life that never changes. And it is this presence that is your permanent security. You do not need to beg for it. You do not need to chase after it. You need only become aware of it. And the moment you do, fear begins to fade, confusion begins to clear, and anxiety begins to subside, because now you're no longer leaning on your own limited understanding. You are leaning on the presence that understands all. People often search for security in the unstable, in jobs, in relationships, in titles, in routines. But all these things by their very nature are subject to change. When your sense of safety is built on things that can be taken from you, fear becomes a constant companion. But when your security is rooted in the presence of the infinite, unchanging, unconditional, and ever near, then even when the outer world shifts, your inner world remains steady. This presence is not just a comforter. It is a revealer. It shows you what's real when illusions cloud your sight. It grounds you in truth when appearances tempt you to panic. You may be walking through uncertainty, but the presence of God within you is not uncertain. It sees farther, it knows deeper, and it moves ahead of you, preparing the way. The presence of God is not merely with you, it is in you. It is the core of your being. It is the substance of your soul. It is the intelligence behind your intuition, the power behind your persistence, the love behind your compassion. And when you learn to turn to this presence as your first response instead of your last resort, everything changes. Your nervous system may react to stress. Your thoughts may scatter in difficult moments. But deep beneath all that, the presence remains. It doesn't fluctuate based on mood. It doesn't vanish in the valley. It is constant, steady, sure, and the more you align with it, the more your life becomes anchored in peace. To say the presence of God is my security is to remove the need to control. It is to release the exhausting pursuit of trying to guarantee every outcome. You no longer have to play the role of protector, planner, and provider all on your own. You are now guided by a wisdom greater than strategy, and supported by a love greater than fear. This doesn't mean you live passively. It means you live proactively, out of trust, not out of tension. You make decisions not from a place of scarcity, but from a place of sufficiency. You don't force outcomes. You align with divine flow, because you know that what is truly yours is held by the presence that sees what you cannot see. There may be seasons of transition. There may be unexpected turns. But underneath them all is a current of divine stability. The presence doesn't prevent storms. It gives you peace within them. It doesn't eliminate change. It anchors you through it. It doesn't promise a life of ease, but it guarantees you are never without guidance, never without help, never without hope. This presence is your true safety. It is your silent partner in every conversation, your unseen support in every challenge. It cannot be taken, shaken, or broken, and when you abide in the awareness of it, you walk through life with calm assurance. You speak with confidence. You live with trust, because you know that you are not navigating life alone. Affirmation activates divine law. Your words are not mere sounds. They are spiritual instruments. Every time you speak with belief, you engage a law more precise than gravity, more powerful than circumstance. Affirmation is not about repeating empty phrases. It is about declaring what is divinely true until it becomes your inner knowing. It is a spiritual command backed by the force of universal intelligence. When you affirm a truth such as "God is my strength," you are not trying to make it true. You are aligning your consciousness with a truth that is already eternal. The universe responds to the vibration of your awareness. If your inner conversation is saturated with lack, doubt, or fear, then life reflects that back to you in some form. Not as punishment, but as a mirror of belief. But when you begin to affirm truth consistently, with clarity and conviction, you shift your internal frequency. You align yourself with the higher law, the law of divine order, harmony, abundance, and peace. Affirmation is how you speak from the God center of your being. You are not begging a reluctant universe to help you. You are activating what is already within and around you. Just as turning a key ignites the engine in a car, Affirmation ignites the spiritual current that has been flowing in you all along. This is not superstition. It is alignment. It is not about forcing outcomes. It is about attuning yourself to the divine pattern behind all creation. There is a vast difference between idle speech and spiritually charged affirmation. The idle tongue says things it does not believe. It reacts, complains, and repeats fear. But the conscious soul learns to speak with awareness, to declare only what it wants to grow. You are always affirming something, whether by default or design. The wise choose to affirm what is eternal, not what is temporary. They say, all is well even before the evidence shows up, because they know that words shape the soil of experience. Divine law is exact. It does not respond to emotion alone. It responds to spiritual conviction. So when you say, I am guided by divine wisdom, and you believe it, you open doors to insight, clarity, and peace. When you affirm, I live in divine protection, you begin to perceive life from a place of safety, not survival. These are not just statements. They are spiritual initiators. They begin the process of manifestation by redirecting thought toward truth. Every affirmation you speak is planting something. When you repeat, I am whole, I am free, I am loved, you are not escaping reality. You are creating it. You are telling your subconscious mind, your body, your relationships, your environment, what to align with. And over time, repetition builds a pathway in consciousness. What once felt foreign becomes familiar. What once felt impossible becomes natural. Do not underestimate the power of a single sentence spoken in faith. One truth declared with sincerity can rewrite years of fear-based conditioning. One affirmation can reverse mental patterns that have kept you stuck. But this power requires consistency. It is not the occasional affirmation that transforms, it is the continual awareness of truth. Speak it when you feel it. Speak it when you don't. Speak it until the words are no longer just sounds, they are the tone of your inner being. Affirmation is not denial of the facts. It is declaration of the deeper truth. The fact may be that the storm is strong, but the truth is God is my refuge. The fact may be that the bank account is low, but the truth is, I live under the law of divine abundance. The fact may be that your body aches, but the truth is, every cell in my being responds to divine life. You affirm not to pretend, but to call forth the divine pattern from within the appearance. Your words hold energy. They are creative impulses. When you speak truth from the soul, you are not speaking to change the world. You are speaking to change your relationship to it. You are inviting the invisible law to move into visible form. This is not mechanical. This is spiritual. You are not repeating phrases like magic spells. You are communing with divine principle through sound and intention. You do not need to be loud to be powerful. Whispered affirmation, if spoken with depth, carries the same potency. Whether you say it aloud or within, the energy moves. Say it until your mind believes. Say it until your body relaxes. Say it until your circumstances begin to reflect the shift. You are not a victim of life. You are a co-creator with it. Divine law is not passive. It waits for your cooperation. Affirmation is that cooperation. It is the conscious participation in the unfolding of spiritual reality. It is your daily handshake with divine intelligence, and through it you move from chance to choice, from fear to faith, from limitation to liberty. Outer chaos cannot shake inner stillness. The world will offer you reasons to panic, news, noise, conflict, breakdowns. These are part of the visible realm, but within you there is a stillness, untouched by the movement of circumstances. The stillness is not silence. It is power. It is the place where divine presence resides, and it does not tremble when the surface does. The more you live from this place, the less reactive you become to the chaos of the outer world. Inner stillness is not weakness. It is not numbness or disengagement. It is the anchored awareness that no matter what appears to be happening, there is a deeper order, a higher intelligence, a divine rhythm at work. You begin to understand that life is not random. The shaking of the outer world often precedes a greater alignment. When things fall apart externally, it is often to invite you to go deeper internally. This is where stillness becomes essential. Stillness is not about sitting in a quiet room. It is about entering the sanctuary of your own soul. In that sanctuary, there are no headlines, no threats, no deadlines. There is only presence. And that presence is peace itself. It is not disturbed by the storms. It walks above them. When you are rooted in stillness, the world can spin, but you remain centered. You are not indifferent. You are deeply aware, but your awareness is sourced in truth, not in fear. You begin to act with wisdom instead of reacting with anxiety. You speak with clarity instead of confusion. You live from a space that is larger than circumstances. Stillness allows you to hear, not the noise of fear, but the voice of the Spirit, the voice that says, "Be not afraid," the voice that says, "I am with you," the voice that knows the path when the path is unclear. But that voice is often subtle. It does not shout over the chaos. It waits for you to tune in. This is why cultivating stillness is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Without it, you are pulled in every direction. With it, you are guided from within. And the more you trust this stillness, the more you realize that it is your true power, not because it fixes things instantly, but because it changes how you see, how you respond, and how you live. Outer chaos will come, but it does not have to enter you. The storm may rage, but you are not the storm. You are the awareness behind it. You are the presence that watches without being swept away. The news may shout, but your soul listens to something deeper. The world may shake, but your foundation is divine. Stillness is not a condition. It is a choice, a returning, a remembering. In every moment, you have the power to return to the center, to pause, to breathe, to recognize. This may be chaos, but I do not have to be chaotic. This may be uncertain, but I do not have to be afraid. When you hold the inner stillness, your very presence begins to shift environments. People sense the calm. They feel the peace. You become a lighthouse, not by fixing others, but by being deeply anchored yourself. The calm you cultivate becomes a gift to the world. Stillness is not passive. It is creative. It gives birth to new vision, new solutions, new insights. It allows you to see clearly when others are blinded by noise, and it reconnects you with the source of your strength, which is not found in outer approval, outer systems, or outer comfort. It is found in the eternal silence from which all things arise. Be still and know is a command, not a suggestion. This sacred instruction carries authority. It does not ask. It directs. It invites you to stop striving, to cease the mental noise, and to enter the sanctuary of divine awareness. It is not passive. It is deeply active. In the spiritual realm, be still is how you access higher wisdom, and know is how you awaken to truth. This is not about inactivity, but about alignment. It is a command to shift from outer reaction to inner recognition, from confusion to clarity, from fear to faith. When obeyed, it becomes the doorway to divine revelation and peace. The river of divine peace flows through your soul. This river is not seasonal, not dependent on the weather of your circumstances. It flows eternally within. It is calm, clear, and constant, untouched by the agitation of the world. When you tune into it, anxiety fades, and harmony returns. You don't create this river, you remember it. It has always been there beneath the surface noise, waiting for your awareness. It nourishes your thoughts, refreshes your heart, and restores your spiritual balance. You need not go anywhere to find peace. It is already flowing through the center of your being. You are governed by spiritual, not material forces. Your true life is not determined by outer appearances, but by inner alignment. Material conditions may shift, health, money, status, but they are effects, not causes. The real cause of your experience is spiritual law, the law of divine order, love, and harmony. When you recognize that you are governed by spiritual intelligence, you stop reacting to surface-level events and begin responding from truth. You are not at the mercy of statistics or circumstance. You are guided by a higher rhythm, sourced in divine mind. Align with that truth, and the outer must eventually reflect it. Faith is not emotion. It is alignment with truth. Faith is not a fleeting feeling or emotional high. It is the deep conviction that divine reality is more real than any appearance. It is a conscious choice to trust the unseen, even when the visible seems contrary. Faith sees beyond the facts and holds to the truth. It doesn't deny the storm. It knows who calms it. Faith is steady, grounded, and clear. It is not wishful thinking, but spiritual perception. When you walk in faith, you walk with the awareness that divine intelligence is guiding, supporting, and unfolding your life with purpose. You have now walked through the living terrain of Psalm 46, not with your feet, but with your awareness. And now you don't just read the psalm, you embody it. You know now that your refuge is not in a building, not in a bank, not in someone else's approval. It is within. You know now that divine strength is already yours, not someday, but now. You know that fear cannot stand in the light of spiritual knowing. It dissolves. It evaporates. It loses all power the moment you align with truth. You've come to understand that your security does not come and go. It is permanent, for it is rooted in the unchangeable presence of God. You've discovered that your words are not just sounds. They are keys that unlock divine law. You felt the power of stillness, that sacred space where nothing outside you can shake the center within you. You now hear the command, "Be still and know," not as advice, but as a divine decree, a cosmic instruction coded into your very soul. You sense the river of peace flowing through you, not just on calm days, but even in the middle of life's storms. You've accepted that your life is governed not by man-made forces, but by divine order, divine rhythm, divine intelligence. And above all, you now understand that faith is not something you feel. It is the way you align, the way you walk, the way you live. This, my friends, is not just a speech. It is a spiritual initiation. You have moved from information to embodiment, from reaction to revelation, from fear to faith. Now walk through your life, not wondering if you're protected, but knowing that you